Welcome to the She Is podcast, where we are encouraging and equipping women to be confident in God's promises. I'm Jamie.
I'm Sherry.
I'm Nicole.
We are women in different ages and stages of life. We are active in ministry and are here to have a Bible-based conversation about our identity in Christ. So get ready to be encouraged and equipped as we share with you today.
Welcome back, everyone, to She Is podcast. We pray that you've been really enjoying this little series that we've been doing. Today we're going to dive into part 4. And so for those of you that don't like a series, we do apologize. We just really enjoyed our conversation. And before we knew it, it just kept growing and becoming its own little thing. And so we do pray that it touched your heart and that you've enjoyed it and we're able to get a little nugget out of it. And so join us today for part 4 of She Is Unrelenting.
Well, that's what I think is so special about a marriage, is that there's no other relationship like it in your life.
Right.
It's so unique, and it's a relationship that you only share with your spouse. It's not like a relationship you have with your kids or with your friends or with your coworkers. I mean, you're really, you're so many things. You're friends, your lovers, your partners. You are literally, partners going through life together. That's what you're doing. And so, keeping that relationship as a high priority.
Yes.
Which, I mean, what's difficult is, when you're both working full-time jobs apart from each other. Right. Or even, because even just one working a part-time job or a full-time job is taking you apart from each other. It means that you're spending more time with other people than with each other. Yeah. But even still, your relationship carries more weight in your life, or should carry more weight than any other human relationship on earth.
Yes.
Right. So in order to make that happen, it has to be a priority. You have to take those times away, but also making sure that at home you're having good, meaningful conversations, and you're allowing time for intimacy and not neglecting each other, in anything. Because even, we could go on and on about a marital relationship, is that there's balance in that, all those aspects too. It needs balance in and of itself. So it's something that's easy to neglect. I know, like my husband, he's so easy to be married to. He's just such an amazing man, and we have such an amazing relationship. We've been married for I think it'll be 17 years this summer.
That's awesome.
And we're best friends.
Yes.
And I love our relationship, but we're also like we have very similar temperaments, and we're both pretty passive with each other. So it means passive is not a bad thing. It just means you can let stuff go and we don't carry a lot. So if we have words, like, we don't carry them. It's just like, you talk about stuff and then, and then it's over. Like, I know everyone, you hear this a lot when people joke about, like, I heard this couple say they never fight, and they're lying, and it's like, we don't. We don't,
right.
And if, any of you have met my husband, you probably understand, like, we just don't. He's not a fighter.
No.
I'm not a fighter.
No.
If we disagree, like, we're okay with not agreeing. We don't have to change someone's mind. So anyway, he makes being married so easy.
No.
But that doesn't mean I should lessen that priority.
Or take advantage of
Exactly. Yeah.
You still have to be intentional.
You still have to be intentional, because, things are really good. And we've gone through tough stuff.
Yes.
We have gone through some very intense seasons. but we stick together, and when
Yes.
things are good, we keep that communication open, and we still prioritize each other, and we laugh together, and
Yes.
we make memories together,
Yes.
and we still make that happen. So I don't know, it's hard, because I mean, every relationship's gonna be different, just with different
Right.
personalities coming together. I think ours is just a really unique mix of just two people who don't mind just getting along.
Really good mix.
Right, it works for us.
That's nice.
So,
Right.
anyway, but it's just, I just bring that up because even so, marriage is a priority.
Yeah. Even good marriages take work.
Yes.
For sure. You just don't want to take them for granted.
Yeah.
And I think it becomes so easy in the day to day.
Yeah.
Just even for my relationship, being older, and you just have to make sure that you're intentional about it.
Yes.
And even if you have a good marriage, you just have to not take them for granted. That's just so important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love languages.
Ooh.
Yes.
That's
Those are
huge.
good,
You
yeah.
have to know, Doug and I have been married 20, oh golly.
That's me. I'm like, oh no. How old are our kids?
Right. Yeah, that's what I was counting. It's like, how old's Zachary gonna be? Oh, God, right.
Math.
20. I'm not good at math.
Me either.
28 years. But then you say the number and it sounds so big. You're like, what? How can that be? But he's not my first. He was my first. Well, he was my second marriage. But I don't count the first one.
Oh.
I didn't know what it was. It was horrible. I've already talked about that season in one of the other podcasts, so it didn't count. But even though my parents had been married a long time, they had never divorced. I'm not from a divorced family. I should have been from a divorced family.
Oh, man.
Only because not because it just, what I saw did not feel comfortable to me. But their marriage, even as a child, that who am I to judge their marriage? Right? I mean, but to me, it didn't seem like a loving marriage. Maybe it was, and I just don't understand their dynamic, like what you're saying, Jamie. But for me, I'm like, I think we would have been better off, But, so it was important to me to get it right. And the only way I knew to do that, since I really didn't know how or have anybody to teach me to do that, and when we got married, I already had Amanda. So he had an instant family. So we did not know life without children. We're young couples, they usually get married. It's just the two of them. The problem comes when the kids come, because then the husband's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Did you forget about me over here? When Doug and I got together, Doug and Amanda were best friends before I even really liked the man. And so I think I was the third wheel, because they were friends.
Oh,
and
sweet, though.
And it's
That is really cute.
Yeah.
what always stuck out to me was, I was going through custody things as, restraining orders against my ex. A lot was happening. And Doug would smile and say, it's you and me against the world. It's you and me. And his philosophy was, if we don't let anything out there come into our marriage, we'll be just fine.
That's really good.
And over time, you clearly see that, because if you allow outside influences, even well-meaning people, if you let them into your marriage, then the marriage is no longer just between me and my husband. It's me, my husband, and that person, and that attitude, and that person's opinion, and we can't do that, and we can't even with Amanda. Amanda was 3. Him and I were him and I. Yes, he got an instant family, but it wasn't him, me, and Amanda.
Right.
Our relationship was him and I.
Yes.
And then we had Amanda.
That's good. That's good.
So, and then we had Zachary, our son. So we had to make sure it was still just him and I against the world, and that included those 2 little kids. They were a part of the world.
Wow.
And so we can't even allow our children to infiltrate our marriage fort, if that makes sense.
That's a good picture.
I like that.
And yet we do, and then that's when young couples struggle. That's when the husband feels abandoned or left alone or whatever. Rightfully so.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean,
It's valid.
as a wife, we're trying to do our best, but we're juggling. We're juggling husband, kids, and then everything else. Those are the 2 main. And then if you go to church and it's like, well, now you've got God and husband and kids. Okay, I don't, even just juggling those 3, forget about all the other stuff. Just juggling those 3 sometimes is almost impossible unless you make them a priority, unless you make sure the pecking order priority list is correct. God, husband, children.
And everybody else.
And then everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if I get any one of them out of order, we have chaos.
Yeah. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Because God is my priority, then my husband should be my priority. And then if the kids are having a problem, well, then if Doug and I are good, then the kids will be fine. And I think that's where we struggle. And as a young mom, you know, you're going, I'm juggling my husband, I'm juggling my kids.
And it's so easy to let guilt come in with that too. It's like, okay, now he feels ignored, but what do I do with the kids? But then what do I do about him? And I think it all ties in to that connection with God.
Yes.
Because if you're running on empty, you have nothing left to give to your husband or your kids. And that kind of brings me to my second verse, is John 15:4, and where it's talking about, Jesus is talking to the disciples, I believe. He says, "Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me." And that he has to be our source and our portion, like the other verse I was talking about. Because if we're not connected, then we literally have nothing else to give to anybody else.
Right.
So, yeah.
We have to have the priority right, and we have to make sure that unintentionally, we juggle those 3: God, husband, kids. Unintentionally. Even as adult kids, grandkids. You know, now I've got God, husband, kids, grandkids.
Yeah.
And I'm juggling them, and it's, okay, yes, twist my arm, make me spend time with my grandbabies, you know, right?
Oh, gee, the horror.
Right. Golly. But, so...
But at the same time, too, like, your kids should be prioritizing as well.
Yes.
So and this is where I think more conflicts come, is because your kids are still your kids.
Yes. Yes.
But once they have kids, you move down that priority list, right?
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
for them, but they don't move down for you.
No.
And so...
And if I did it right, I better move down. Because her priority, my children's priority, better be their God,
kids.
their spouse, and their kids.
Yeah.
I
and
should
then you're
not
everybody else.
I should be everybody else.
Yeah.
And if I'm not, I'm wrong. Because I've done that.
Wow.
I put myself in that place and I've created an unhealthy situation. I put myself in their marriage and I don't belong there. If I'm selfish, I want to be there. Luckily, with the Lord's help, I don't do that. I don't do that. I refuse to do that. There's still times Doug and I will be like, I'm sorry, I think I might have crossed that line, of asking a question that's really none of my business in your marriage. Or I got on your child and you were standing right there. But the minute one of us does that, we back up and go, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I crossed a line. Because I know I crossed that line. My kids are like, doesn't happen often. It's fine, Mom. But I need to set the precedence for my children. If I raise them correctly, they know me and know my mom's not going to matter that she just got dumped off the list. I shouldn't be on the list. I should not be part of the juggling. And then it becomes Mom, I'm juggling. Can you take this ball today?
Can you bear my burden?
Right? Can you bear my burden?
Full circle.
And I need, and if I'm at a stage that I'm not where Nicole or Jamie are, I'm at a stage, it's just me and my husband and the dogs, I don't know where they fall on the priority. Pretty low. But, below all the kids and the...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But
they're pets.
I should be able to say... Let me.
I know that's not a very popular opinion to have.
But I should be able to say, and she knows, she'll send a group text to Doug and I both, and she'll say, hey, so, like this week, I've got to go into my classroom. She's a 5th grade teacher, and I got to go into my classroom. I want to get some of my stuff rearranged because they all changed rooms. So now she's got all of her stuff in a box in a hallway. She wants to start putting it in her classroom. Well, I could take the kids, but they make more of a mess, so if you could just play with them for an hour, great. And so then Doug and I, we might be sitting on the couch together getting this text message, and we look at each other and go, what's your schedule? Because it's still priority. She has a priority that she didn't demand, but she knows she can ask. And if our priority works, we're more than happy to do that. But then she doesn't get upset if we go, that doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
And I have to be transparent. I got upset on Friday. I had sat at home all week by myself. Boo-hoo. I love being home by myself. I love being home by myself. But the plan was I was going to take vacation. And my husband and I were going to do something together. But praise God, or it should have been, his business got busy. And he's like, sweetie, I'd like to spend time with you, but I got this convertible top I need to do. I got these 2 seats coming in. I got, because, it's nice and car shows are coming and all these people want to get their vehicles done. So he's like, so I can tell them no, and then I have no income and spend time with you, or I can go to work. And part of me was like, oh, you just go right on ahead, right? And I was totally fine with it because I enjoy being at home by myself, and I knew what he was doing. It was great. Totally good. It wasn't a problem until... So on Wednesday, my husband says, I'm going to finish early on Thursday. If I have to work on Friday, it'll be only for a couple hours. I told him, that's great. I'll go get my nails done. We'll be done about the same time. And then we'll spend all afternoon on Friday together. It was beautiful. Great plan. Yeah. Until I got home from my nail appointment, and there's a text message from our sweet daughter that says, hey, what are you guys doing? You want to come hang out with the kids for a little bit, and then we'll have dinner? Doug immediately texts back, sounds great to me. I went, what? Because me as a grandma, I'm like, yeah. But then I'm like, but no, because we're going to do this. Yes, we've already talked about this. We have plans. Yeah. So as I'm typing, and I type a book, sorry, because I don't do the initials and all that. So I'm typing out, Amanda, we would love to, I don't know what your schedule is or what you have planned, but we were going to spend the afternoon together, and if it works out, then I would still like to do that, but we were going to go do this. And we haven't had any time together. As I'm typing that out, he goes, yep. And I'm like, so then my feelings get hurt because now I am thinking, well, he doesn't want to spend time with me. He just put those grandkids above me when we've already talked about it and made a plan. Sounds familiar, right? Because that's what happens with young couples. We have a plan, then the baby gets sick or something happens, and the one's like, I'm really sorry that plans just went out. And the other one's like, but we had plans. That's where the hurt feelings come in. It's not that both of us were right in what we did. Neither was wrong. What was wrong was I allowed it to hurt my feelings. And then I was pouty about it. And so then he comes home and he's like, so me being me, the Christ-like woman I am, I type back in this joint text message, never mind, which just told my daughter, oh, because she knows when mom says, never mind. And then all of a sudden my phone's blowing up. My husband's going, I'm so sorry. I should have talked to you about that first. What was I thinking? I'm so sorry. And I'm like, yep. Because now my feelings are hurt instead of just letting it roll off. Right. Because I was fine at home by myself and all of a sudden I'm not. And I adore spending time with my kids and my grandkids, and all of a sudden I'm not. So I had to stop and think, okay, so what's my problem here? Why did I get my feelings hurt? But those things are what happens instantaneously that totally throws a wrench in everything. Then we get our feelings hurt. Now we've got it, and now and then we wonder why days of that goes by and we're not talking and we're not spending time together, and I'm cranky and I'm just, and it's because I allowed. Did I put God first? Was I juggling properly? Had I been resting? Am I thinking of his needs? Am I thinking of her needs? I could have been an adult about the whole thing and said, oh, I'm so sorry. We had plans. Let Dad and I talk about this. Even after his response. That should have been my response. Apparently I didn't have the priority list because it wasn't God and then husband. Otherwise I would have had the proper response. And so even when it doesn't look like we're juggling a lot, I mean, please, I wasn't juggling a darn thing. I was sitting at home all week. So I don't even have an excuse. I wasn't juggling. But I also wasn't prioritizing properly. So that goes back to the balance. I wasn't balanced. By Friday, obviously, I had gotten off balanced. Not even realizing I sat at home all week thinking, life's good. I'm so happy. I've got the best life. I've got the best husband. My kids are good. They're serving the Lord. My grandbabies are healthy and good. Somewhere in that week in my laziness, I was lazy enough that when something tiny came, I was just unbalanced enough that it hurt my feelings. And I threw off everything. And nothing was balanced. And so then it was, Doug's like, I'm so sorry. And so then it's, and we don't fight. he's like, what can I do? I'm sorry. I and he admitted, I'm sorry, we should have talked about it first. And I'm like, at that moment, my feelings were hurt. So I was like, never mind. We just, so, let's go spend time with the kids. I know it, and that's important. Let's go spend time with the kids. And so now I'm sulking and feeling sorry for myself. And he's trying to make it better, and I'm just feeling sad for myself. And finally he was like, okay, fine. I guess we'll just stay home and be cranky. And I'm like, I guess we will, But then the Lord gets a hold of me, and it's, take a deep breath, admit that you're wrong, humble myself before God, and put him back in his rightful place. That somewhere, somehow in my laziness, that I have no idea, I'm still trying to figure it out, I got unbalanced. And now it's like, Doug's like, let's just do something. We were going to do something. So we did. We got in the car. I humbled myself. I'm working through, because I can't just turn it off, because I have to process the whole thing out. And where he can just turn it off and he just moves on. I can't. I should, but I don't. I need to process. Give me time. And so we get in the car and we just drove around to the different lakes, and that was fun, and it was good, and it was enjoyable, and we still made it back in time to have dinner. And it was beautiful. So we got the best of both worlds. I wish I had thought and put my priorities proper before I responded and before I allowed it to hurt my feelings. Because whether you've got little kids at home that you're juggling, or you've got just you and your husband, the same stuff can come in and just mess up everything, and we get our feelings hurt. We don't know where we are in the, so they're more important than me. No, they're not. I know better than that. But at that moment, I should have known better. And we do that, but that's the unbalance. And so now I've spent the last couple of days, where did I get unbalanced? Because I would not have done that. So now I'm grieving and still apologizing because I should not have been unbalanced. So then it's okay, now I got to backtrack and find that. And it's not because anybody else is wanting me to, but I want to find that so that I don't let it happen again.
Yeah.
Learn from my mistake. Don't just let it keep happening, because he is a priority. But so are my kids. And she had a priority. She's like, it wasn't that big of a deal. Of course it wasn't. I made it the big deal. But that was my choice. And we do that as grandparents, as parents of adults, because my relationship with my daughter is more of a friendship. Of course, I'm still mom. Of course, she's still daughter. Of course, we still have those moments. Very few, because she's my friend. We have a friendship. We've transitioned. And in that transition, I need to fall off the list, and I need to not allow my feelings to get hurt when something comes in. And it's balancing those things, and if I was balanced, I would never have gotten hurt. And I think that's across the board, regardless of where you're at in your relationships, or even friend to friend, or you may not even be married, and one friend invites you to go do something, you've got plans with this other friend, and balance, and being honest and humble, and it all comes together, because relationship is relationship, regardless of what it looks like. It still comes right back to relationship, and where is God in that order? And if it's balanced, it'll be good. If it's not balanced, something goes really wrong. Yeah, it's ugly. It's ugly.
Well, I think it's important to recognize those times, and then, like you said, humble yourself and make things right. I think the longer you let things fester, the worse you're going to be.
Yes.
So, Yeah.
That's good. Well, I think just to kind of sum up
We kind of
our
went on some
conversation.
stuff.
Yeah.
We did, but I mean, this is all stuff that we all deal with in very different ways. But yeah, that keeping God in that
Yes.
number one spot in that balance is huge. And knowing that the weight that He has in our lives is greater than these other things.
Yes.
Even the things that are most important to us can get thrown off if God isn't in that number one spot. And so I think we can all take a lot of lessons from this, and just doing what we can to keep that balance, not treating everything equally, but giving everything the space that it deserves at that moment in time.
Yeah.
And with that, we can be the most effective,
Yes.
Yes.
which is why we're naming this podcast She Is Effective.
Yes. Yes. So good.
So we want to thank you guys so much for joining us for the She Is podcast. If you'd like to start a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, pray this with me. Jesus, thank you for your sacrifice on the cross. I confess that I have sinned and fallen short. I believe that you are the Son of God and have come to cleanse, redeem, and renew me. I love you in Jesus' name. Amen. And if you prayed that prayer today, we would love to hear from you. If you have questions or topics you'd like us to discuss here on the podcast, you can email us at sheispodcast@refugecity.church. And remember to like and subscribe this podcast, or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on new episodes when they are added. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, remember that you are effective.